Good evening. When I was a little boy in school, I remember anytime one of my classmates would get glasses that I would go home and tell my parents, I think I got trouble seeing, I need glasses. They took me a few times to the eye doctor, and I still don't like eye drops, but as a little kid version of me, they had to put my head in a vice grip to hold me still, to pour liquid in my eyes. Never needed glasses, it turns out, until it was my first year in seminary, and we're in our Latin class, and I'm in the back row, like a good Catholic. Got to the classroom early so that I could get the back row seat, and then I remember one day I was looking at the board and I was squinting and I was trying to see, Veni Vidi Vici, and couldn't quite make out the words, but if I squinted just enough, I could see. And then I thought to myself, maybe finally I need glasses. So I went to the eye doctor and got my eyes checked, and he said, you have 20/25 vision, barely out of focus. But yeah, the glasses would probably help you, for in class and when you're driving. So I get some glasses, and at first I'm only wearing them when I'm driving and only when I'm in class and trying to read the board. The rest of the time I'm walking around, doing one of these, and slowly they just kind of got worked up, and my eyes adjusted and everything. Now if I take them off, stuff is just so I got to wear them all the time now, and I kind of regret that, because I used to think that wearing glasses was a cool thing, status symbol. That's until you get thumbprints on them, you scratch them, they end up with an eyelash stuck to them, cat hair, whiskers from a cat, all sorts of things, and just I wish I could just see without the glasses. That would be so much better. I can't imagine what it would be like to be completely and totally blind. We've all had moments where we found ourselves in near total darkness, right? Perhaps as we're getting older, we can't quite sleep through the whole night. We have to get up in the middle of the night, and the lights are off, and there you are, and you try to get out of bed, and you stub your toe, or you step in cat throw up, or you step on a cat, and it's just okay, I'm disoriented because I can't see. I cannot imagine, especially someone who had their sight but then lost it. I can't imagine how difficult that change would be, to having gone from being able to see to not being able to see, to be blind. And so Jesus, in this gospel, he calls this man over, and the man is first just saying, Lord, have mercy, right? Like we do at the beginning of every Mass. Lord, have mercy. Have pity on me, Son of David. Forgive me my sins. And Jesus does. He has mercy on him. He has pity on him. He says, what do you want me to do for you? And he says, I want you to make me see. I want to see. What a beautiful, profound prayer that all of us should regularly pray. Along with the Lord Jesus, have pity on me. Lord Jesus, have mercy on me. But also, help me to see. Help me to see through your eyes. Help me, Lord, to remove all of the things that blur and cloud my vision. Help me to see perfectly. Help me to see clearly. Help me to see your face. Really, it is a simple prayer, but it's so profound. What is it that we desire to see? We desire to see the truth. We desire to see goodness. We desire to see beauty. We desire to see God. We desire to see the world as he made it. And so, in doing so, in asking that prayer, Lord, open my eyes, Lord, help me to see, we have to be ready for what he might show us. Immediately after he cures this blind man, he says, go your way, your faith has saved you. And immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. So he can see now, and so he's going to follow Christ. One of the things that for me is very frustrating is when I meet other people my age or perhaps even younger, and they tell me that they're atheists, and I think, come on, really? You've been alive for 20 years or 30 years or 35 years, and you think that you've got more insight from some of the greatest minds of history that believed in God, God who's been revealing himself to us for 5,000 years. You think you're so special, you think you're so smart that you figured it all out. Like, I think that's just arrogant, and I think you're an idiot. I do. That usually throws them. They start, quoting some, smart person like, Richard Dawkins or one of the other famous atheists. I'm just like, stop. If only your eyes could be opened. If only your eyes could be opened to see the goodness of God. I can't imagine what it would be like to live without faith in God. I've never known. I was fortunate that I was baptized as a child. My parents raised me in church. We pretty much grew up at the church at St. Jude, in the school, in the Boy Scout program, in the youth group, even the sports that I very poorly attempted to do. I didn't need a priest to tell me that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. I had that one figured out on my own. But we grew up there, so I really don't know what it's like to live without faith. I just can't imagine, though, how lonely it must be, how dark it must be, how sad it must be, how hopeless it must be. We are a people filled with faith. This past Friday night, there was the satanic black mass that took place in Atlanta, and we had mass here, and we had a holy hour of reparation, 8:15 p.m. on a Friday night, and we had as many people as are in this church right now, if not more. I was blown away. I knew that there would be more than just like a daily mass crowd, but I didn't think that there would be that many. I was just blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, our faith is so strong. Our faith in the Eucharist is so beautiful. And I was so delighted by that. Now, the people that were attending that event, however, they call themselves members of the Satanic Temple of Atlanta, and they say, oh, well, we're not really a religion. We exist to mock religions, and we don't really believe in the devil or anything. Like, okay, well, but you're invoking the devil, and the devil's real. That's not the smartest thing to do. You're invoking demons. Demons are real. So you may not believe in anything that you're doing, but you are doing bad. And what exactly is it that they believe? If we're to believe that life is just here and now, what we see is what we get, try to get whatever pleasure we can out of this world, and then in the end we become worm food. And that's it, the end. And I think to myself, how sad it must be to be an atheist. How sad it must be to say, no, there's no God. Our body's made up of all these complex cells and organ systems that work in tandem, and everything goes together. And, it's just like, how could you think that that's chance? And so I pray for others' eyes to be opened as well. Yes, Lord, continue opening my eyes, open them more and more, but also open the eyes of those that don't see, that don't want to see. Open the eyes of those who perhaps have seen and then decided no. Open the eyes of those who have no hope, those who are in despair. You think about despair, right? And like the worst consequence of despair is someone taking their own life, because it's like, well, if there's nothing to hope for, there's nothing to live for, there's nothing on the other side, why should I be here suffering? And it's tragic, right? Those of us that have been touched by suicide, we know just how horrific it is, how awful it is. Because there's that sense of hopelessness, despair. But Christ calls us to follow him. So we say, Lord, open my eyes that I may see you, and then that we may see you, we may follow you. And when we follow you, where do we go? We go to the cross. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I want to suffer? We go through so many crazy efforts to not suffer. But if we don't suffer, we don't love. If we don't suffer, we're not united to Christ. I've said it many times, I'll say it again. Love is not an emotion. Love in its fullest sense is the pouring out of oneself for the sake of another. Exactly what Jesus did for us on the cross. Lord, what's the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God above all else and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor with that same love, that same outpouring of oneself that God has for us. Pour yourself out back for God. And so we look and we say, okay, to follow Christ is to suffer. That means that I have to embrace it willingly. That means that I can't avoid it. That means that when I do recognize evil in the world and it shocks me and perhaps even disgusts me, that's a good reaction. And I have to suffer too. I have to suffer with. That's what compassion means. It means to suffer with. Christ came to suffer with us, to show us how to suffer, to give suffering meaning, so that we may suffer with him, we may suffer with one another, so that in the end, when this world passes away, there will be no suffering. Because Christ has defeated suffering. He has defeated death. So when we ask the Lord, open our eyes, Lord, help me to see. And in seeing, help me to do. Help me to follow. Let us continue to pray that God may further open our eyes more and more. That he may open the eyes of those who are ignorant to him, those who do not believe in him, those who have no hope in him, those who have no trust in him. That he may open their eyes so indeed they may continue to, rather they may begin to desire to do his will. I think oftentimes people come to church and they kind of sit there and, okay, what's he going to talk about in the homily? Okay, well, where's he going? How long is it? Is it going to stop? And then you thought I was going to stop. You thought that was me landing the plane, didn't you? But I forgot an important point, so we're going to take off again. It was a touch and go. Sometimes people come to church and they're like, I'm just here because I'm here, right? I'm here because it's like compulsion. I'm here because it's what good people do. I'm here because my mom made me come. I'm here because my wife made me come. If that's you, ask the Lord for, at the very least, the willingness to have him open your eyes. Lord, may I desire that you make me desire for you to open my eyes. Let that be your prayer. If you find yourself lukewarm, if you find yourself hard of heart, if you find yourself stubborn, if you're 15 and you've decided that you've figured out that God doesn't exist, you're going to have to prove that to us, by the way, 15-year-old. Ask that the Lord may open your eyes. Maybe the reason that we won't open our eyes, that we won't ask to see him, is because we've already seen suffering and we don't like it. And we don't understand it. God allows suffering to the point that even he embraced suffering willingly so that we may all be united to him in the next life.